Hey friends, welcome to my first video of 2026. I'm so excited to be back. I thought we could kick the year off with a makeup tutorial, something easy, something quick, something neutral, something every day or every night. I wanted to create a look that could either be taken from day to night, a little bit of glam, but not too heavy. Anyone can do it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, let's go ahead and kick things off. So for this look, I really wanted it to be simple, just an easy go-to, something you don't have to put a lot of thought behind that will work every time. So I'm really focusing on foundations and complexion products that are going to hydrate the skin. Given that it's January, it's likely very cold or drier this time of year wherever you live. Not so much where we are, but we are an exception being in Texas. It was like 80 degrees on Christmas, but I think we're getting some cold weather in the next couple of days. So anyway, we're going to start with foundation, and I'm going to be using the new Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. So this is the newly formulated version of this foundation. This has been a foundation that I've loved for many, many years, maybe even decades. I've loved this foundation for so long. I can remember working at MAC, which was well over 20 years ago, and loving this foundation. What they did different is they added niacinamide into it, so ingredients to really kind of infuse skincare into the foundation. It's still supposed to give you that really radiant, glowy finish that we love. I personally feel like it is a bit more dewy and luminous than the original. The original is radiant to me, but it also dries down a bit more than this one does. And I find this one to be just a little bit more luminous. So I think it's great for drier, colder months. I think it's great for really dry skin. And they also extended the shade range from my understanding. So I'm going in with the shade 5.15, and I'm using the BK Beauty 109 brush. And I'm just going to start here in the center of the face and just kind of press this in the center of the face to get some coverage. Usually I use the 106 brush for foundation. That's kind of my go-to. I'm using this one, and this one's going to provide a little bit more coverage right off the bat because the brush is a little smaller and a little more dense. Because it's smaller, it's going to take me a little bit more time than the 106. The 106 would be a little quicker, but I really just want to kind of build coverage. This is so pretty. It is a really, really beautiful foundation. I received the entire set, you guys. They sent me the entire collection of 44 shades. And I mean, I felt a little guilty, to be honest, because the note said, since you're a makeup artist, and I'm not really a working makeup artist anymore, so I think they thought they were sending it to someone who could use them in their kit. However, I am getting them to good use. I have a couple of makeup artist friends. I'm letting them take some. I've sent some to some friends. I had a few people reach out to me on Instagram, and they were like, "Can you sell me one?" I'm like, "No, I can't sell it to you, but give me your shade and I'll send you one." So don't worry, they will not go to waste. I will be sure of it. And this is a pretty perfect match for me. Yeah, it is pretty darn perfect. Look at that. Look at how luminous that is. I'm gonna go in on the other side, build some coverage over here. When I get to the nose, I'm just going to kind of pull the brush down and sweep it out a bit more just to shear that out. I don't want a lot of product buildup on my nose. That tends to be the area where foundation will wear off throughout the day. If I wear glasses, seeing glasses, or sunglasses, if I have a lot of product on there, you're just going to see that transfer. And I don't want that. So, and I don't need it really. I have a little bit of pinkness around the nose, but I don't need to cover much. And do you notice how I'm holding the brush a little closer to the ferrule versus further out? Doing that allows me to really give, a bit firmer pressure, which is also going to build coverage. And then on the forehead, I don't need much, but I am going to put a tiny little dot here. In terms of how I'd compare it to the original, like I said, the radiance is a bit more luminous and dewy, where I feel like the original is a bit more of a kind of matte radiance in some ways. It feels like it dries down a little more than this one does. In terms of which is better, it really is going to depend on your preference. They're both incredible formulas and foundations. I don't really have anything bad to say about this. I do think I prefer the original more throughout the year because I live in a hot climate and I do want something that's going to dry down a bit more. However, like I said, this time of year, this one is great. So I think they're both fantastic. But I do notice a slight change in the two. Okay, perfect. All right, next we're gonna go in with concealer. And I have two concealers that I pulled for this video. I wasn't sure when I started pulling products which one I was gonna use, but now I've decided I'm gonna use the Maxine's Revenge Concealer because I've had so many requests to review this. The other alternative that I had was the RMS Hydrating Concealer. This one is phenomenal for hydration. If you have dry skin or just, again, this time of year, this is such a good concealer. Very hydrating, full coverage. It doesn't look or feel heavy though. It is a thicker consistency than the Maxine's Revenge. Maxine's Revenge is very great coverage too, but it's a lot thinner. It's a lot thinner of a consistency. So it's really designed and catered towards more mature skin from my understanding. It says minimal skincare is needed, no primer is needed. I actually bought this months and months ago, and this happens often. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I buy so much makeup that sometimes I buy things and I put them somewhere and then they just get lost in the shuffle and I never end up trying them or I forget about them. And this was one of those products. And then I had so many people reach out and request for me to review this. And I knew I had this somewhere. So I went searching for it and I found it. And I love it. It's very thin. It's great coverage. It's very hydrating. I actually put a little more than I actually need, but I'm going to go and put a little on the outer corner. The shade that I have in this one is light beige, and I feel like it's a perfect match. It conceals, but it also brightens and highlights underneath the eye. And I'm going to go in, because I applied a little more than I think I need, I'm actually going to go in with the 110 brush. And this is a little hack. When you are working with a full coverage concealer or something that's heavy or thick, this is not heavy or thick. This is the opposite of that. But, or if you apply too much of a product, which is the case of what I did here, I'm going to use the 110 to apply it. This is basically like a hybrid between a sponge and a brush. So you know how a sponge will just give the most kind of natural coverage and it'll do it quickly because of its size and it'll absorb a lot of product? This kind of does all those things except the absorb all your product bit. It is going to absorb a bit more than like the A506 or the N14, a smaller brush that I might use for concealer because of its size, but it's going to blend that area out fast. Then you can take your brush, kind of sweep it on a paper towel. I like to call it dry cleaning your brush, and just bounce it right on top, and that'll just pull up any excess product that you apply. Perfect. Oh, look at that. So beautiful. Let's go to the other side. This is a very great concealer for mature skin for the reasons of it being hydrating, but also thin and full coverage. It's like everything you want in a concealer without compromise. It's really, really nice, you guys. I do love this and I highly recommend it. Okay, so as we go into the new year, you guys, I would love to know what kind of content you want to see from me more of. You know, when I look at kind of how my videos are performing in analytics, this year was kind of strange. And I think it's not necessarily widespread on YouTube, but I have talked to a lot of friends who have kind of experienced what I experienced this year on YouTube. It seems harder to get the views that we used to get, which is okay. And I take responsibility for some of that because I've been pretty inconsistent in terms of my schedule here on YouTube. I used to be Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and I had that schedule and you knew when you could expect a video from me. And over the last year, maybe even 2 years, I've been a little more inconsistent just because of life and all these other obligations that I have. I haven't been as committed and consistent for you guys. So it's hard to know when I'm going to have a video. So I think that definitely hurt me. And that's something I want to fix, course correct going into this year. I want to have a schedule and I want to have I want you to know what to expect from my content. So I would love to know what type of videos you want to see. Ideally, I want to create like 4 to 6 buckets of videos, like kind of themes, right? And so I want to kind of plan all my videos to fall in those 4 or 6 buckets, just so there's some reliability and you know what to expect from my channel. So all that to say, what do you want to see? It seems like a lot of my like top 25 products or my favorites videos or makeup I would repurchase or holy grail products, like those videos always perform really well. So let me know, and obviously the tutorial type of videos, I think the videos where I'm adding a lot of value and teaching tips and tricks, those always perform well. I notice my makeup tutorial videos typically don't though. So tell me what you want to see more of. That'll help me when I'm planning my content this year. So now we have foundation concealer on. As you can see, the skin is very, very dewy. We are going to set with a little bit of powder. I'm going to share a setting spray with you guys for if you want to maintain that luminous glow after you've set with powder, what setting spray to use, because it is actually my favorite for a glowy finish. But let's get some brows on first because we are in need of some brows. I'm using my trusty Duo. This is the Benefit Precisely Brow Pencil. And then I'm going to go in with the wax. And I like to do one shade darker in the pencil and one in like a shade or a shade and a half lighter in the wax. For me, it kind of matches my hair, right? So my hair is highlighted. It's kind of like a light brown or a taupey brown, and then I've got blonde highlights. So I'm essentially doing the same thing for the brows. I'm putting that base brown down, and then I'm going to go in and add a little bit of lightness to the brow. I haven't even mentioned this. This is officially my first YouTube video in my new studio. And I do want to say this, and I want your feedback. This will not be my final set. I did order some new lights, so that'll change. You may notice that you may not, but tell me what you think about my background. It's obviously very, very blank in the background. In my previous studio, I had a little bit of floral thing happening, a little light. There was just a little softness to the back that we don't have here. And so do you like that? Do you like a cleaner, whiter background, just simple? What do you guys like? I feel like for my style, I want something back there, maybe a little plant or I don't know, something. Tell me what you think. Okay, we are going to just kind of extend the brow a little bit and lightly sketch. Don't apply too much pressure because then you get really harsh, angry looking brows. And if you do apply too much pressure and you need to soften it, just take the spoolie on the other side and kind of do a soft little comb through before you go in with the brow wax. Okay, so we got that in. Now I'm going to go in with the brow wax and I'm going to be using the Precisely My Brow Wax. I discovered this year and I love this. It's like a brow gel, but it's more of a waxy formula. You can really build it up and you'll see it kind of build up and thicken in the brow and take more on that waxy um, formula. I like to brush the hairs up just to add a little more volume to the brows. Do you see that? I love that. And this is the shade 2. So in the pencil, what did I do? Did I do 3 or 3.5? 3.5. And in the wax, I'm doing the shade 2, which is like a taupey blonde shade. Perfect. Okay. Oh, love that. I cannot leave the house without brows. I can leave the house without everything else. Like I don't need concealer, I don't need foundation as long as I have my tinted SPF. But brows, I have to have something in my brows. I just feel like it completely frames the face. Okay, let's go ahead and warm the skin up. Okay, so we're actually going to go in with the Pat McGrath Labs bronzer. This is the Glamorous and Glow Regal Radiance. And this is the shade Nude Honey. And I'm going to go in with the A507 from Angie Hot and Flashy collection. And I'm just going to kind of load the brush up. There we go. Got a good little coating of bronzer. And we're just going to kind of press that into the skin. Ooh, that's pretty. This is a nice warm bronzer. This is one of those bronzing shades that could really double as a blush if you wanted to. Like if you wanted to skip the blush and take this a little further over on the apple of the cheek, I think you could get by without using blush. We are going to use blush today, but I did want to share that in case you were trying to simplify your routine this year. What is everyone's New Year's resolutions? Mine, I don't know if you call them resolutions, but my goals this year, one is to read more. So I am sad to admit this, but I am terrible at like sitting down and reading a book. I just don't make the time. I listen to audiobooks in the car all the time, but I want to sit down with a hard copy book and read for at least 10 minutes every day. So I'm filming this on January 6th, and so far I have done it almost every day. I missed the second, but I made up for it. So that is one of my goals. I also want to cook more. I want to discover recipes through Instagram and make them, hopefully get my girls involved to help me make them. This week I made something. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see kind of all the recipes I'm making and I'm sharing where I'm finding them. I'll link my Instagram down below. But recipes, cooking, the reading, and then my other was to work out 4 times a week. And those are my 3 goals for the year. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit on the side of the nose. Perfect. Okay, for blush, I want to add some pinkness, some brightness, some youthfulness to the face. I'm going to go in with this powder blush from Hung Van Gogh. This is the shade Second Language. I've been loving this. I got this a couple months ago when he launched this collection, and I love this blush. It's a powder blush, but it's so beautiful. Very easy to apply. I'm using the 112, and I'm just going to kind of sweep it right on the furthest part of the apple of the cheek and back. So pretty. And then kind of sweep it up here to the hairline and the temple. I want to keep the blush a little soft to start. I usually find that after I've done all my eye makeup, I can come back and that'll be a good place to gauge if I want more color on the cheeks, but always starting kind of light because I can get carried away with blush. I really can. This color is so pretty. It's just like the perfect blend of a peachy pink. It's really beautiful. And I find that it wears all day. It's really, really nice. Now let's just take a little look. Perfect. So nice. All right, let's go ahead and set with powder just in the center of the face, the forehead, just to control a little bit of shine. I'm going to go in with the Huda Beauty powder, and this is the shade Pound Cake. I'm actually going to use the same brush that I used for blush, and I'm going to load the brush up with the powder, really pressing it and working it in. I'm going to start like right here and get most of that product off the powder. Then I'm going to look up and tap underneath the eye. Never start underneath your eye if you've got a brush loaded with powder because the under eye area, you really don't want to apply too much powder. And again, the first place you put your brush is where you're going to apply the most product. So always start either on the forehead or right here and then work your way underneath the eyes. Okay, that's perfect. Do you see what that did? That just set that little bit of shine, but I still have luminosity on the cheeks and We're good to go. Now, I do want to show you guys the setting spray. So someone reached out to me on Instagram and asked, how do I keep a radiant glowy finish after I've set with powder? I'll use a radiant foundation, but once I set it with powder, I lose it and it's mattified. And this setting spray came to mind. This is the iconic London Prep Set and Glow, and this is the shade Radiant. I think it is Radiant or Radiance. They have two shades, and you'll know clearly because the other one is quite a bit darker. Just shake this up. It's a setting spray. It's actually going to lock your makeup in, keep your makeup on all day, but it's also going to give such a beautiful glow. I mean, look at that, like that pearlescence. Do you see that? I mean, that is, it's a glow. Perfect. Okay. Just gonna let that sit. Ooh, so pretty. Okay, now let's go on to eyes. Okay, for eyes, I'm going to be using the Bobbi Brown Long Wear Cream Shadow Sticks. You know, this is my favorite formula in the cream shadow sticks. I love cream shadow sticks. They're easy. They're just as beautiful as creating a look with eyeshadow palette. You know, if you have a 12-pan palette, like you can still create beautiful looks with this product, but the ease of them and the longevity of them, just, I don't understand why everyone's not using these every single day. So I have two shades here. I have the shade Nude Beach, which is matte, and then I have the shade Soft Bronze. So I'm going to go in with Nude Beach first, and I'll show you what this looks like. It's a really beautiful, warm, neutral shade. Isn't that pretty? I love the Bobbi Brown. They're my favorite. There are many great longwear cream shadow sticks out there on the market, but this is probably my absolute favorite because it is so creamy. It is so pigmented, but once it dries down, it really does set and stay in place, okay? So you want something creamy so that you can move it and spread it and sheer it out if you want, but you need it to dry down because if it just stays creamy on the eye, then you're gonna have a creasy, messy slop throughout the day, and you do not want that. So I'm going to take the N16 and I'm just going to softly blend out that crease a little bit with the tip of this brush. Look at that. It's so pretty. It's just a nice, good base color. Beautiful. Look at that. Like if you cover this eye, it doesn't look like I have much on the eye, right? Much shadow, but when you compare it, you can clearly see I've got some color there, a little more dimension. You can use these as shadows like I am. You can also use these as eyeliners if you want, which is how I'm going to use the soft bronze shade. I'm going to use it to kind of line my lower lash line. They are so beautiful. I think everyone needs to have a good matte neutral cream shadow and a good shimmery neutral cream shadow. You can also use just a base color like a light vanilla as a primer if you wanted. So if you wanted to layer powder shadow on top of this, you absolutely could. Sometimes I do, but you really don't need to. And that's the beauty of them, is they're just so easy, you guys. So, so easy. Okay, I'm going to take that same shade and we're going to line the lower lash line from the outer corner all the way to the inner corner. So we're basically encasing the entire eye with this color. It's just a beautiful, soft, warm, neutral. So pretty. Blue or green eyes, this color is a must. It's gorgeous. And it's not too dark. It gives you some color, but it's not too dark. I'm going to again take the tip of the N16 and we're just going to kind of sweep and soften that out a bit. Perfect. Okay. I am going to add a little dimension in the crease, but instead of grabbing an eyeshadow to keep things simple, I'm just going to use the bronzer that I used today, which is the Pat McGrath Powder Bronzer. So I'm going to take the N13, this is a little tight crease brush, and we're going to take a little bit of this on the tip of the brush, a little bit of the bronzer, and we're just going to kind of work that right into the crease. And this is just creating a little bit more dimension, but because it's my bronzer shade, it's very natural looking. Again, it's not going to look like I've placed shadow there, but if you were to compare the two eyes, you'll see that the one where I placed it has more dimension in that crease. Perfect. Okay. Next, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take my concealer brush that I used and I'm just going to go and tap underneath the eye and kind of pull it right up here. That's just going to clean up and keep this edge nice and clean and bright. Perfect. Okay. Next, we're going to go in with a soft bronze. Look at this shade. This is so pretty. It is the most beautiful, like a goldeny bronze shade. Isn't that pretty? Oh, look at that. That's so pretty. And we could do a couple things with this. We can kind of place this in the center of the lid. I'm kind of, let's do it. You know what? I'm tempted to. I'm just going to do a little bit right there in the center. And then I'm just going to take that same N16 brush and I'm just going to soften the edges, right? So it just gradually makes that lid pop. but it doesn't look where you can't really see where it starts and stops. And I don't know if you're note picking out, but I'm doing one eye at a time. And the reason I'm doing one eye at a time is because, again, once this product dries, it's not moving, it's not budging. Okay, it's really going to stay in place. So you want to kind of work quickly. So I always recommend doing one eye at a time here. And then last, I'm going to take that shade and we're going to run it on the lower lash line, but we're going to keep it's kind of concentrated in the outer half of the lower lash line. So we're not taking it all the way into the inner corner like we did with the first. So pretty. Okay. How pretty. Look at that. I love that. Okay, now let's add some dimension to the lash line. And I'm so excited to share these. These are the new eyeliners from Revie Beauty. They called the soft definition long wear eyeliner. So these are really supposed to be for those of you that just don't love to wear a heavy liner. They're very easy to work with. They're super, super creamy. So you can really soften and sheer them out. I'm using the shade Umber, which is my favorite. I have them all here. There's also another beautiful brown shade called Drift. Umber's a little bit warmer, which kind of plays with the sweater that I have on. So I'm going to lay this on its side and I'm going to start like about halfway in the lid. And I'm just going to kind of work my way out to the the furthest part of my eyeliner, my lash line. There we go. I'm trying to talk. There we go. And then I'm going to kind of build it up a bit. So I've got a nice thick line. You don't have to worry about this being perfect. I'm going to put the lid on and then we're going to come and we're going to grab an N12. Everyone needs a good N12. And we are going to just kind of soften this out. Oh, this is such a pretty liner. It's so creamy, so easy to work with. Love them. They're gorgeous. Really, really beautiful. Do you see what that did? That just gave more definition to the lashes. What I love is you don't have to be perfect with these because they're so creamy. As long as you have a good brush like the N12, you can really work with it and kind of fix any bumps or perfect it before it dries. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. So pretty. I just love this look. Next, let's go ahead and get some mascara on. I'm going to be going in with this little combo. Fenty Beauty sent me this. This is their primer and their mascara, and I really love this combo together. It gives a lot of drama very quickly. It's a pretty like full lash. So for some that like a lot of separation and length, this might be a little heavy for you. I personally love a heavy lash, but it's definitely on the heavier side of mascaras. Just do a quick little coat of that primer and then go in with the mascara. Yeah, even the title or the name of this mascara is hella thick. So it's definitely a thick, heavy mascara. You're not going to get like real separated wispy lashes from it, but I've kind of been into that lately. I think a heavier lash look looks really good when you have like a softer neutral eye because it just adds a little drama to the eye. This one builds really quickly though. So it is a mascara that if you keep going and keep going, it can get heavy quick. And even though I like a heavy lash, I don't want it to be too heavy or clumpy. Perfect. Yeah, that is perfect. Okay, and I'm going to do it like literally one little touch on the lower lashes because I don't want it too thick. Perfect. Okay, for lips, we're going to line the lips with the Jane Iredale lip pencil in the shade Terracotta. Perfect. And then we're going to go in with my current favorite lipstick. I say current favorite. I bought this a week ago and I love it. It's the Dior Addict. I think it's called the High Shine lipstick. I'll have it linked in below and tagged in YouTube shopping, but this is the shade 422 Rose de Vence. This is a very hydrating pigmented lipstick. It's really beautiful. I love this color. It's like the perfect pink. It feels so good on the lips. It gives a little shine. I don't feel the need for gloss with this. It's not as glossy as a gloss would be, but it gives me shine and I don't want to alter the color. I love it. So it almost feels like a lip balm and lipstick hybrid is what it feels like, but it's thinner. It's not as thick as a lip balm. It's so pretty. Okay, so now that I'm looking at the final look, I want to kind of highlight underneath the brows a little bit. I didn't go in and add anything there, and I do want to add a little bit of brightness because I feel like it's getting a little heavy and dark up there. So let's see what I have. So I'm going to go in with the A504. It's a tiny little fluffy brush. Okay, we got into the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. We're going to go with this lightest matte shade here. There we go. I don't want it to be too white and too bright, but it needs to be bright enough to pop and offer a little bit of highlight and lift. So this is the finished look. I love the way that it came out. It actually came out a little bit more glam than I had planned it to be when I started this video, but I love it. I think it's appropriate for day or for night. I don't think it's too much for day, and I don't think it's too soft for night. It's really a very kind of versatile, neutral look. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll have all the products that I use tagged in YouTube Shopping, so you can shop them below this video. You probably saw them pop up during the video. I'll also have everything linked in the description box below. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.